Hey, welcome inside the FOX Weather ROWI Report. I'm meteorologist Steve Bender, and we're so excited to have you for Week 14 of college football. This is the last week of regular season. There's a bunch of playoff implication, and we got some weather that's going to get rowdy out there. It's going to make these games even more exciting. This is the best time of year for college football. Let's get into the weather, because when we start looking at when this sets up, this is Friday through the weekend. Notice 40 different states that are going to be impacted. There's snow. There's heavy snow, massive wind, and a whole lot of rain. Everything is on the docket. So when we start looking at these games and we see that precipitation impact starts to throttle up, we're going to dive deeper into exactly what type of precip are we looking at for these college games and which teams maybe looking a little bit better, and this could help them get into the playoff, or, hey, does this make it dicey and make it they're on the outside looking in. A big game, of course, in-state rivalry. You got Texas A&M versus Texas. It's going to be 7:30 p.m. Eastern down there in Texas, of course. They got a medium risk of weather impact. We're going to dive deeper into that. Notice some of the other games in the South and Southeast, relatively quiet. But does that change in its timing and intensity? We'll be looking at that. Then as we take it to the north, we do have some areas like Kansas where they have a low risk of weather impact, and it's truly because you're looking at the timing of this. And then Indiana and Purdue, you're starting to look at Indiana trying to solidify maybe a first round bye. How are they going to be doing it? Looks like a low risk of weather impact against the Purdue Boilermakers. Let's get into the full slate of games, and I don't want to do this alone. Let's get in Gerard. The risk of weather impact is good. You were just debriefing on all the different games, and I mean, it's important because there's so much at stake each and every game when you start to look at the playoffs and who has the potential of not only getting a bye, but even getting a chance to even play in it.
Yeah, so there are so many games that are going to be impacted by weather this weekend, so we cannot cover every single one of them. What we're focusing on here is what is relevant to the college football playoff and just everything to do with that. So the Friday games here, what it's timing out is that Texas A&M Texas game is the one to watch. Now, the good news is for a lot of these other teams that Texas A&M, they're undefeated, so that they can afford to take a loss and still make the playoff. They still want to get that first round bye. They still want to be in the SEC title game, but they can afford to drop one game and be safe for the playoff. Texas, they need to win and they need to get help. What does this game set up to? So Texas has a really nice, solid defense. They actually want the rain in this game to sort of slow A&M down a good bit, especially at home in Austin. So Texas is welcoming the rain here as an opportunity to pick up their best win of the season and maybe get an outside shot at an at-large bid in the playoff. The rest of things here, the weather is looking solid for them. So these matchups, Ole Miss, they need to win and get in. Georgia wants to win to maintain that first-round bye. Georgia Tech's playoff hopes hanging by a thread, would be a fantastic win and get a lot of help after that. And Indiana trying to win to maintain the first round bye. Utah needs to win and get some help. Those games should all be good weather-wise. Let's dive deeper into, though, that Texas A&M and Texas game.
This game is so big because I think it's beyond even what we see this season. I mean, this is an in-state game. Texas A&M, obviously a top-5 team. If they win this, I think this helps with, of course, the recruiting class down the road. Like, this is such a big thing. Obviously, we're looking at this season right now, but this is a massive game on both fronts to set the tone for the Lone Star State. Who is the top dog in the state? And to your point, it's about the rain. When does it set up? It does look like this is an evening game, and it looks like the rain is coming in. With this, we know this as meteorologists, when you start getting into the later portion of the day or even in the evening time, you lose a little less of that oomph and that instability while we're looking at rain droplets and you're not seeing lightning strikes. This looks like the type of rain that you're going to have to play through, Jared. So to your point, with Texas having a strong defense, if you're trying to lock them down, and maybe if you're building a lead out of the first half where it was quiet and you're trying to now set the tone and shut it down, I think this is something that maybe even favors Texas in the second half because you're not waiting for delays, right? This is going to hopefully slow down any type of momentum for those offenses, and it just makes it dynamic for the end of the game anyways. I think there's going to be some fireworks, not by Mother Nature, just by what we're seeing play out on the field.
Yeah, I mean, Texas has had a very disappointing season. They come in as the preseason ranked number one. Arch Manning is the Heisman favorite. They've lost 3 games, and they really could have lost 1 or 2 more of them against Mississippi State and Kentucky, which are not the greatest teams in the world either. So they want to end their season on a high note, and I know they still have that playoff chance. They're still clinging to that, and if they do win, they'll make their argument, and the weather should help mitigate just generally passing attacks, and then offense in general should put a slight dampener on that, which gives a slight push, a slight nudge towards Texas.
So that's the southern tier, right? Then we looked at some of the SEC country games and where you're going to be down south. We got to talk about after Thanksgiving, after everybody's been battling the tryptophan, you've been just like so sluggish right now. You get into the weekend and you step outside and you're like, this feels vastly different. Why? Well, we have the beginning of the onset of an Arctic blast. This is round 2 of another punch that's coming through the northern tier. But with this one, you have a little more influence coming in from the poles, and that's going to give you that cold air support. But it actually increases the instability that we're going to see play out right in the heart of the country. The Midwest is going to be the battleground where you're going to have fireworks, flying, but also just north of there where we've highlighted. I mean, this could be historic snow totals for November in areas of the Midwest and the Great Lakes.
Yeah, and we've got a lot of football games going through there. Not like, especially your Big Ten games. There's a lot of action this weekend that is going to have a ton of fun Snow Bowl action. So if you're, stay tuned to the forecast here if you want to see a little bit more of that. We're still, though, looking at what is relevant to the national picture here. We're going to start with a couple of mixture of games here, a little bit lesser. Texas Tech at West Virginia. It's going to be to the east of the storm going through as Virginia Tech at UVA, which is bad news if you're a bubble team. You want to see Texas Tech slip up. You want to see Virginia slip up. SMU at Cal on the West Coast. The West Coast games are looking fine and dandy. They should be in good shape. Oregon and BYU, all of them looking to collect last wins and get those pushes to either push towards a first-round bye or just get that playoff spot in general.
Yeah, so those are the games that were either east or west of where this action is. Now let's take you to where the start of all of this action is unfolding. We have actually a big weekend ahead for us here, personally at Fox Weather, of course, because we have Nick Kosher. He's going to be going out to the Big House out there in Michigan, Ann Arbor. I mean, this is amazing. Obviously, this is a massive rivalry, a huge game, but for Ohio State, top dog. They've been amazing. I think obviously the first game of the season, it was going to be decided who was going to be the top dog. As you mentioned, Texas had a lot of hype coming in. I think from that standpoint on, they have been the team that hasn't budged, hasn't done anything to slip up on their record. And so for this, can they make it through one more week? And it looks like this is going to be fun to watch because I think weather is actually going to have a big component in this game. Because I don't know, Michigan hasn't seemed that impressive this year, but when you have a rivalry game and you have snow in it, I think it just levels the playing field and just makes it so much more exciting.
So we're going to dive into that more shortly. So let's go, because there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah, what's LSU? And Oklahoma.
So across everything else, the key thing here is that the delayed timing of the storm means that Miami will be okay going to Pitt, as this would cause major issues if the onset of the storm was earlier. Right. I'm going to that game too. For those who don't know, yes, I'm driving up that morning to Pittsburgh. Saturday morning, driving back the same night from Jersey to Jersey.
Now, you're saying that they need help getting in, though.
They do. Miami needs help getting in. Miami needs to win and have one other team screw up for an at-large bid, because they probably jump Notre Dame if they win and they win solidly, which the weather is set. Like, they needed low ROWI impacts here to go and try to, get.
You think the temperatures matter here? I mean, you got a South Florida team going up into Pittsburgh.
I mean, it's not ideal, but for late November in Pittsburgh, this is about as ideal as you can get. There's no snow. The wind is not hideous.
Okay.
So I'll take the delayed timing on that. Notre Dame at Stanford should not see any issues. Notre Dame is in the playoff. There's obviously the huge debate about even though their resume is fairly weak, their advanced metrics are very good, and they do have that head-to-head loss to Miami. Historically in the past, that head-to-head does matter in the final change. So Notre Dame's just trying to keep their advanced metrics high. Win, blowout, weather's not an issue there. Vanderbilt, they need to win and get help to get in. This would be a massive win for them at Tennessee, would be a huge add to their resume, their best win of the season. If they win that game, they'll get an extra push there. The good news is with their passing attack is not going to see any issues with the weather at all there. That's going to be south and east of the main corridor. Alabama, Auburn, 2. Alabama is going to the voodoo of Jordan Hare, but there is no weather that's going to muck it up there. So Alabama's offense should, in theory, without a little voodoo magic, should be okay weather-wise. LSU, Oklahoma, though, that's a defensive battle. 2 great defenses.
Okay.
Oklahoma's offense is okay. LSU's terrible. It's not even sugarcoating it there. So the wind impacts there could help keep that score low, and they're just going to need to get the foam.
Yeah, so let's dive into those two games, right? Because those are the two big ones. Of course, we talked about what's going to happen at Michigan Stadium, Ann Arbor. The precipitation impact, this is important because, Jared, all season long we have talked about rain. This is the different one. This is the snow element. Yeah, and that actually amplifies the impact, right? Because we talk about in rain, there's different types of intensity. There could be even delays depending if it's thunderstorms. I mean, you're playing through the snow, but it makes it so difficult for every single position on the field, and it's just tough to get comfortable in a game like this. The big thing about this one, which will be interesting, is does the snow actually set up and how long? Because when you're looking at this with the risk of weather impact, we highlight the worst quarter of the game, right? So we're looking at the fourth quarter again, where if this game is competitive, honestly, this is just that little extra cherry on top where you want to add another layer of drama. You have the snow that's coming in. But notice by even the second quarter into the early second half, we are at that medium risk of weather impact. You do have two northern teams, but it's been warm this year. This could be really the first true cold game of the season for both of these games. You wonder with college athletes, is that, with all the excitement, the dehydration, because you're just the adrenaline that's rushing, and now you're getting cold. Does stiffness play a factor? I did see early in the season, Ohio State, they've been doing really well. They've been resting their guys. Maybe they're a little more prepared for this because they have a little more extra juice. I don't know. There's all these storylines swirling. Really, our storyline is when does the snow arrive? And how intense is this going to be? Because it is lake effect snow.
So yeah, the timing is the key to all of this here, as you've said, and that the timing is going to determine what type of impact you see. Because if this moves up literally by an hour or 2 hours, you are seeing high risk of weather impact conditions.
Where's the wind direction coming out of? I'm trying to see it out here. The little lines are difficult because it looks like it's actually derived out of the southeast.
Out of the south, yeah.
So that means that's coming off of Lake Erie, which is strange because I thought this would have been Lake Huron, where you were going to be getting the wind off of that coming down into Ann Arbor. But we're actually looking at Lake Erie.
Like really, the time that system moves through as a whole on that, because this is just like that. Yeah, the eastern side of that low as it's coming up. The one thing I do want to say here,
that's warm air then
for this. So let's go and talk about what the possible weather impact can be, because that snow timing is in question. There is a shot, as you see at the very beginning, you have that lower risk of weather impact, and this is colder than normal for the game. The game can be as warm as 60 degrees with a nice warm pulse in November. It's very variable this time of year for how this is on the colder side for what the game can be. So snow-wise, what we talk about is the snow impacts are greater impacts than the rain impacts. So you have even decreased passing efficiency from there. You're seeing about a half yard on average in your NFL data. So you go from over 6 yards per attempt to closer to 5.5 yards per attempt. For passes, and then your rushing attempts actually get closer to about 4.1, 4.2 in clear conditions. That goes all the way about 5 yards per carry in snowy conditions. So you see a dramatic change about where you go, all right, in clear weather, passing is really dominant, and in snowy weather, you see enough of a change whereas really you need to be far more of a running-based team. Now, Ohio State, Sayin is a Heisman candidate. He's probably been the best overall quarterback in college football this year. Ohio State has about the best passing attack in college football this year with him and their star wide receivers. Michigan is not a great passing team, but they are a top 10 rushing team in college football, both by efficiency and total yardage by game. So stylistically, this is something where Michigan is begging for the snow. Because you're going Ohio, so it's weakening Ohio State's best strength, and it's strengthening Michigan's best strength.
It's balancing the odds.
So it balances it out. It gets it to much more of a ground and pound game, which is exactly what Michigan wants to see, because Ohio State is the more talented team. They're more put together, and in theory, on a neutral site, they should win. Now, we say all this last year. A lot of this was all true, and Michigan won at Ohio Stadium despite being a significantly worse team, and that Ohio State team went on to win the national title.
Just doesn't. Yeah, it shows you the variability each week with college football. But to your point, when you add an extra layer like weather, I mean, what you were just saying was all NFL stats. You kind of almost expand that out with even greater, expectations on which way this could swing because of college football. And so, looking at this too, what makes this interesting is if it ends up being a close game, I mean, this could be decided by a field goal. Field goals are. I mean, that's really tough in these type of conditions. Forget the snap holding that. Ugh.
So it's funny enough with there's not enough snow game data to get like a field goal at every single yardage from like a really solid, to put a solid thing together, because you need like really, really large sample sizes to get everything to work.
Okay.
But the rain sample size shows that like basically at 30 yards and beyond, like you just see a decrease in field goal accuracy, and the snow effects and everything else are just amplified rain effects. So you should see the same thing with that, where it's like really long field goals once snow sets in are very unfeasible.
I'm also interested to see if this is going to be true snow, because you're looking at the air temperatures, it's just below freezing. But you're talking about the wind coming in out of the south and southeast. Lake Erie is still very warm for this time of year. So you could almost see this being a wintry mix, which makes it just brutal out there, because it's kind of like, okay, you have this sleet that's coming down, or maybe this very wet snow that once it hits the ground, it actually doesn't stick, but it still limits your visibility. It still makes it just as difficult to throw through, but then your field is just like this glaze of ice that's on the ground as well. I mean, when you get snow, it's compacted. There's a layer of that where you can kind of get through it, or if it crunches down into ice, but I think there's going to be so much water packed into it. It's just kind of an interesting setup overall, what this could be like. But to your point, I mean,
and one thing I do want to say is that after Ohio State had won their 8 in a row and Michigan kind of like wimped out during the COVID year, the game that snapped the streak was actually very similar weather-wise to this, where it was fairly cold and snow, at least in that scenario, there was snow set up in the second half, and Michigan made one final big push, mainly through their ground game in the fourth quarter. So that's something you may see a little bit of rhyming action here. And Ohio State was the better team that action. Now, granted, that Michigan team was also a little bit better than this one, so we'll see. They need the snow to really trend faster to get into that. So,
by the way, we were just showing the Fox weather model. That actually showed here. I'm going to bring it back real quickly.
Bring it back.
Fox model oftentimes can be pretty bullish with its speed and intensity. I've noticed that over the last several years, but it's good.
The Fox weather model, so the ROWI is not directly tied to the Fox weather model. It's much more the model consensus, especially this far out. There is a goal to tie it directly to this. But it would have to be really within the final 24 hours because of the model uncertainties this far out. This depiction, though.
But look at this. I mean, it does arrive really like half hour before the game and really lingers around. Now, notice with this could be an indication of just cloud cover initially with the lighter shades of blue. But once you start getting to those darker colors, or even the white color that starts to emerge, that speaks to that snow rate as well, how intense it's coming down. So it does look like through the latter half of the game, or even after the game ends, this is going to be a snow event that just continues on for Michigan for your holiday weekend. But again, some of the question marks why we're doing this on a Wednesday. As we get later in the week, hopefully we'll have a little more certainty as we get to that timing of it all, because we'll try to do this on Friday.
I would say if that Fox weather model pans out exactly as depicted there, with the snow starting just before game time, that would be high road conditions, and everything that we had just talked about would come into play with how the passing game gets affected, how the running game gets affected, and how it's going to hurt those two teams. LSU, Oklahoma, let's go.
Yeah, let's get it, because Oklahoma, they're doing good. They're obviously a top 10 team. LSU has been floundering. At times they've looked great, then they start to fall apart. What's the big game, or what's the big impact on this? It's all about the wind on this one. You're looking at how far south they're in Norman, Oklahoma. I mean, the wind gusts, sustained winds into the 20s. Wind gusts can easily be into the 30s, and something that we've talked about here, Jared, recently on the Fox Weather stream, and something we've been tracking up in the Midwest, is the blizzard conditions and how the wind has actually outperformed what the models have been predicting. And so just speaking to that can still play out all the way down here at Gaylord Family Oklahoma Memorial Stadium as we get into Saturday, into the middle of the afternoon. This could be a major wind event. And again, LSU, they got some athletes, they got good defense, and that could hopefully maybe limit some of the explosiveness of Oklahoma to keep this close.
Yeah, I mean, both of these teams have very strong defenses. LSU's offense is like completely and utterly broken.
Yeah.
And so the wind, really, if they can like knock Oklahoma's down a tad. Now, the reason why medium is set to around 20 miles per hour for the wind is that's where you start to see those effects of the passing game a bit more sustained wise. So that's, at least in the NFL wise, that's beyond 20 miles per hour, beyond 10 miles per hour. So that's what you're looking for there. So LSU kind of likes that there if they want to end their season with a win. Oklahoma needs to win and get in. So they just want to go play it tight, play it close, and come out at the end.
All right, I'm gonna throw you a bone here, okay? Because there's no risk of weather impact. This is just a moment for Gerard to get in on his team here.
Yeah, so
one last chance.
So if we do like the slightly modified form, it's going to be a little chilly for the Miami players. They're not going to like these temperatures all that much. It could definitely be worse than it is.
Yeah.
But it's just very thankful that the winds are not that high, the snow is not that high. Miami needs to win, and they need to win by multiple possessions to really have the strongest argument possible for jumping Notre Dame. Now, jumping Notre Dame's not the only thing they need to do. They need help from one other team elsewhere, but Miami, they are very happy that it's really just cold. They can deal with the cold. They can handle it. They have a strong offensive line. They can push people around. It's going to be a little uncomfortable, but Pitt will be more used to it. But
no, that's a good point. Their offensive line makes them feel like a northern team at times, where you just got to lean on them
like a snowshoes team.
Yeah,
really.
which is
it's kind of weird. Hysterical.
Yeah, it is kind of.
Besides Malachi Tony, he's a really
man, he's so explosive. All right, so great episode. We got to dive into a lot of what obviously college football playoffs, the big weather events. We encourage you to jump over on the FOX Weather stream as we're going to be going all throughout Thanksgiving, Black Friday, into the holiday weekend and beyond. We have multiple systems. It's a back-to-back punch. It's a gut shot to so many of these areas in the northern tier, especially around the Midwest, Great Lakes, and the Northeast. We have tailgate that's going to be ongoing over the weekend. That's going to be really exciting. Going to see Nick Koser.
Ohio State versus Michigan. Stay tuned for that. You will get all the weather breakdowns you need for your college football Friday and Saturday on the tailgate.
Yeah.
And Koster's doing things Thanksgiving morning too. Tune in for that. If you think the parade's boring at any point, make sure you're watching us at any point. Nick Koster's going to be giving some updates on the road.
Yeah, I also watch tomorrow afternoon. I'll be anchoring as well. So
sure.
We're going to be doing all of this. I hope everybody has a happy Thanksgiving. If you got some time on Black Friday, maybe we'll be dropping a bonus episode so that way you'll have some fun. Be safe, be weather smart, and we'll see you on the next pod.